Hey everyone, it's Leo Young here with Impressive Graphics Media, and I just want to say before we even get into it, yes, I know, I see it. I woke up with it this morning, I couldn't do anything about it. So other than that, let's just ignore it and jump into the story. Outlast 3 will be vastly different from Outlast 1 and 2. Now back in 2017, after the release of their second game, Outlast 2, Red Barrel announced that there would be an Outlast 3. If you're unsure of Outlast or never heard of it, it's basically a first-person not a first-person shooter, but a first-person horror game that throws you into the maws of a Satan-fueled, dick-ridden, cocaine-filled nightmare where you're constantly running from people that don't exist or shouldn't exist and monsters that you hope never exist. Well, now that there's a third title on the way, it may not be as dick-filled as the last two, but I hope it is. I hope there's just dicks everywhere, because that's the main staple for the game for me. Like, if you go and find a bunch of other articles about Outlast 2, it's like, don't worry, there's still a dick mutilation. So Outlast 3 will become like genital jousting. Now Outlast came out back in 2013, 2014, and was a huge hit in the indie platform, becoming one of the most popular new IPs from an independent studio this decade. Last year, Outlast 2 came out, receiving less praise for almost feeling like a copy and paste of the last game, more like a DLC than its own, but you know, it still came out and made $64 million for the company, so it only makes sense that Red Barrel would be making a trilogy, or unless they plan on doing the same thing that almost every other trilogy does, where they come out and the third one is a huge drop. Just saying. Which is where we come into Philippe Morin's comment on changing things up. In an interview at Berlin's Quo Vadis conference with GameIndustry.biz, Philippe Morin spoke about the story behind his company and Outlast. During the interview, Morin explained the idea behind changing the formula, saying, "If you had told me a year ago that the project we're currently working on was going to be our next thing, I would have said, nah, I don't think so. It's an internal struggle," Morin says. On the one side, you have to stay motivated as a developer, but at the same time, we have to think about stuff as company owners. That's why it took us several months to find the sweet spot between doing something that's going to please the fans and something that we're driven by personally. In big studios, they can say, "If you're burnt out, we can always give the IP to a different team." But that's not the case here. We're prototyping, and the way I want to approach this is to get a prototype that we're really happy about and then figure out the best way to get it done. Are we going to, need the same kind of budget? Can it be lower? Right now, I don't know. All I know is that I always make sure that we have options on the table. Plan A, B, C, and D. When we get to the river, you decide which bridge you want to cross. I always tell the team, since the studio is owned by developers, our interest as developers is as important as our interest in shareholders. We do not want to change that. This man talks in riddles. Not riddles, but more like this man's tongue must be like licking up lollipops when he speaks, because just trying to read that, this is my 5th time reading over, I still can't get half of what he says correct. But anyways, that's about it. Now on to my personal talks and thoughts about the whole situation. I'm very happy to hear this, to be honest, because like I even said, the one thing about Outlast 2, not just the one thing, but a lot of people complained that Outlast 2 was it was Outlast 1, but the problem was Outlast 1 was more linear, so you were like, oh my god, I'm going to be scared, but I don't know when. Outlast 2 came off more of a open world linear game, but it was like, there was so much there that you didn't know when to be scared, and at one point it just got boring. Especially one thing about Outlast is the main focus is your character that doesn't fight back, which is, oh, it's raining hard out there, which is kind of, I wouldn't say problematic, but it got boring after the second game, because at this point it's like, not even the second game, it got boring after the first DLC of Outlast, the Whistleblower, the only Outlast game I personally played, but I've seen all the other games, so I know what these people are talking about. So the fact that Morin is coming out and saying, hey, the third one is not going to be like Outlast 1 and 2, because, we're done with those. It was alright, we did them, we finished them, that was great, but, why would we continue making the exact same thing? Which makes sense even for like God of War. Think about God of War 1, 2, and 3. They were somewhat similar, but the story had changed to the point where it was like you're trying to kill Ares the first game. The second game you're trying to... Who are you trying to kill the second game? I think the second game you get betrayed. Yeah, the second game you get betrayed by the gods, and the third game you get your revenge. Outlast 1, you go to a place to, you know, you're a reporter, you go to report, you get killed, or turn into a demon, one of the two. They never even dealt with that. There's still a demon walking around. Outlast 2, you're a reporter, and you get knocked out because, you know, the church has a fucking EMP wave. And Outlast 3, we don't even know. It might not even be a reporter. You might actually be a cop, like, alright, we're done with this crap. Pew pew. And all that. So I'm very excited. I love saying the word excited, I guess. I'm very excited to see where Outlast 3 is going to go, because if they're going to, like, to change what made the game so popular in the first place, if they think they can beat that, I'm pretty sure it's still going to be a horror game. That's one thing about, like, you don't need to just be strictly horror, like the Fear title, you know? Other than that, there's really not much I can say. There's no information on when the game is going to come out. It's most likely going to come out 2019, 2020, so we have a while to wait. But we're definitely going to see a teaser trailer like we did for Outlast 2, where they just, like, showed the burning cross in the eyes, and then Outlast 2, 2016, even though it came out the next year. By the way, that 6-month thing, that interval where the game was supposed to come out but it didn't, was planned. So they wanted it to come out 2017. But anyways, like I was saying, though, there's really not much I can say about it. It's just the information right here is, like, it's the main importance at the moment about the game, mainly because it's the only information we got. But it's like changing up your IP. I'm pretty sure that's what Naughty Dog was afraid of doing with Jak 4. They were like, we can make the game, but it would be completely different from the other games. It wouldn't really feel like Jak 1, Jak 2, and Jak 3. But I guess the difference between Jak, if you know what the game is, Jak 1, 2, 3 is a different type of story than Outlast. For the Jak games, the story or the plot completely changes from each game, like big time, like from 1508 to 3005 with Childish Gambino to 3007, because it only took 2 years after, but instead of like in the city, you're in the desert. Completely different shifts. Outlast 1 to Outlast 2 wasn't that big a deal. Not deal, but big a shift, if you know what I mean. It's still in the same universe, it's still in the same timeline from what I'm seeing, like cameras and all that, so yeah. But anyways, well, I guess only time will tell. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did find this informative, please hit that subscribe button to get access to our notification gong. Click the gong so you can get updated to our next video. And if you would kindly like, comment, share with your friends and family, because I really want to hear your thoughts on this. If you're a fan of the game, I know a lot of people said they should have never made Outlast 2. If you're one of those people, well, I'm pretty sure I know where your stance is, but if you're one of those people who are like, no, the game should be like the first and second, well, I just also want to remind you, we don't really know what they're changing. For all we know, the big difference is you do get to carry a gun, or you do get to fight back, but you're still going to be fighting, not fighting, but you're still going to be running from people who are like the Wall Rider or the Sickle Lady from the second game, you know, those type of characters who you wouldn't be able to fight. So those are more of their running type. But there's a whole lot that can go on, so I just want to hear what you got to say about it. Anyways, like I always say, I'm Leo Young. Hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay impressive.